Greetings, fellow investigators, and welcome back to our video podcast, Into the Darkness, where my friends and I play the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. I'm your host, Tom Rayleigh. Our campaign is entitled Intersections. It's part of World War Cthulhu Cold War series. Matthew Sanderson is our game master, and this is episode 2. I will be giving the recap as Dr. Jason Jacoby. So, without further delay, let's begin our journey into the darkness. Notes from the Journal of Dr. Jason Jacoby, Biological Research Scientist. Update number 19740206.2023. Summary. Priority 1, Section 46 Assignments. Determine the current threat from existing adversus humanitatum groups within the Middle Eastern theater. Priority 2, CHQ Assignment. Vladim Kasikov. Assessment and possible extraction from Istanbul. Priority 3, ongoing personal research into the Ichthyandrian presence in the Sea of Marmara. Priority 1 review. Received a communique from N concerning the diversity and frequency of transmundane groups within the Middle Eastern theater due to the declination of once powerful groups such as the Brotherhood of the Skin. We are to identify the cause of this former cult's decline. We are to determine which groups are currently active within the Middle Eastern theater and their level of influence. We are to prevent any incursions by these groups and counteract any threats to the stability of the region. It is suggested by N that the information dealer, Utku Majash, be utilized as a source for leads in the area of investigation. Priority 2 review. On Tuesday, February 5th, 1974, I was contacted by CIA officials and transported via Learjet to headquarters at Langley. The flight took approximately 11 hours and it was uneventful. In D.C., I was taken to the Fairfax Hotel and was briefed along with 2 unfamiliar operatives, Robert Lebeau and Ian Somerton, concerning the possible defection of one Vladim Kasikov. Kasikov holds the rank of first captain in the Soviet Navy. It is believed that he is also a KGB agent, though this is not confirmed. Our assignment was delivered by Regional Director for Near Middle Eastern Operations, Thaddeus Dunbar, and Jeremy Mueller, his assistant. We were to fly back to Istanbul posing as officers of the American Consulate in Turkey. Our contacts are the CIA station chief in Istanbul, Kyle Layton, a field agent named Gail Bennett, and Oscar Harlow, the consular general. A meeting has been arranged with the information dealer, Utku Majash, who apparently has HQ's confidence. We are to assess Kasikov's value and risk to the CIA and lift him if it is warranted. Priority 3 review. While flying from Paris to Istanbul, encountered 2 civilians of possible significance. The first was a middle-aged male who was inebriated. I did not encounter him directly, but observed him. The physical encounter came at the end of the flight during debarkation. Agent Lebeau stumbled into the man, causing him to inadvertently drop a small golden object. Upon examination, I determined the artifact was possibly Ichthyandrian in origin. The man, however, did not have any of the expected mutations. I need to assess his involvement if possible. We'll try to obtain a passenger manifest. The second individual was a woman I first encountered in the Paris airport terminal. She seemed to recognize me and became very agitated. Throughout the flight, she was quite nervous. I made a decision to confront her, which only further added to the mystery. She was most definitely a civilian with no military or covert training. Her reaction was one of terror. She ran immediately to the toilet and vomited. I have not been able to determine why she would have such a strong reaction to my presence. Upon arriving in Istanbul, the woman ran from the airplane. As a result, she left behind her handbag. I discreetly ascertained that she was an architect named Miriam Koch. Further investigation, I believe, is warranted. Following the usual protocol, I determined that Agents Lebeau and Somerton were, in fact, Section 46. And I intend on discussing my knowledge of the artifact and its origins with them once we are within a private venue. We were picked up at the airport by Agent Bennett and taken directly to the consulate. So far, I give this current situation a danger level of 1 out of 5.
All right, thank you very much, Tom. Always love to hear the recaps. That's one of my favourite parts of the episode. Right, as we left it then, we had the car driven by Bennett had pulled up outside of the American consulate. It's almost like a modern-day castle in a sense. The building is very square, but sits on top of a hill that has a good commanding view of the area around it. Very whitewashed buildings. It very much stands out. It is a local landmark. Bennett parks the car, leads you up to the front entrance into the nice opulent lobby. There's a metal detector that you'd have to pass through, a bit like an airport. There's a fair degree of security here. And as mentioned previously, that she would take you up to the consulate's general's office, so up to Harlow's office. And there you are shown into the waiting room just outside, where there are 3 other people waiting for you. So I think introductions may be in order. We'll do a quick round robin for your new partners there. We'll start with Mr. Postgate, I believe.
Thank you. My name is Henry Postgate. I'm a field officer attached to the Istanbul office. I'm largely involved in cryptographics. I do some field work these days, but I'm mainly stuck in a desk job and analyzing incoming data. Not really much to tell. Desk jockey. If I can get a chance to be out in the field, I jump at it. No air conditioning in that office. It's foul.
Too much of a luxury there.
Oh, the window open, that's the best we get.
Right. And next round we have Mr. O'Sullivan.
Hi, Eamon O'Sullivan. Previously of the U.S. Marine Corps. Now a field officer for the CIA. Mostly I like using guns and interrogation methods, doing some dirty work, clean up jobs and things like that. That's about it for now.
Sorry, so are you a janitor? I'm sorry.
Some may call me that, I guess. Cleaner, janitor, whatever.
He's Mr. Wolf.
Coding.
Oh, yeah. Drive a really fast car, really fast.
Great.
Last but not least, we have is Mr. Combs or Coombs.
Combs. I'm going to smile at the others and I say, I'm an intelligence officer working on the border of the Soviet bloc. I've done a little bit of this and that, but let's just say that everything I've done is a little covert and on the hush-hush, so I can't really divulge too much, and I kind of give a very big smile. And who are you 3? Because I don't know anything about you people who have just come in.
There'll be plenty of time for that later. I'm Dr. Jason Jacoby.
Doctor.
Robert Lebeau, intelligence officer.
Jacoby.
Ian Somerton. I'm out of Berlin and Hartford.
So what exactly is going on? I was pulled off of another mission for this, so kind of straighten up.
Well, unless we can verify that you are on the same operation that we are, it's classified.
And I kind of give a smirk with that.
I take your smirk and I up you a smirk.
There's a couple of moments of waiting, but you're not kept waiting too long. In which case, the secretary opens up the door, a large double door that leads into a much larger office. and says, the Consulate General will see you now if you'd like to come in, please.
Okay.
It leads you into an office that has a large mahogany oval desk at one end and a nice commanding view behind, looking down to the rest of the district below. There are two men in here, one of which definitely seems to be Harlow, as previously mentioned, and the other one, almost certainly Kyle Layton, as said that you'll be meeting with your station chief here. Layton looks a little scruffy, shall we say. He's a little rough round the edge. His hair is a little wild. His collar's undone. His tie's almost halfway down his neck. But he still radiates, through his smile and his general body language, an air of confidence and authority. Harlow is pretty much dressed up to the nines. He is prim, he is proper, and there's not a hair out of place. There's a set of chairs in an arc around the oval table. Harlow, with a big beaming smile and wide open arms, says, "Gentlemen, please take a seat. Hopefully this won't take too long, and we can get everything going for you."
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So I understand you've come in via a couple of different flights, obviously making sure that then you don't pick up on anyone's radar that there's a large group of friends coming in together. I understand you're all here about our Kazakov problem.
Indeed.
That is correct.
Right. I'll hand over to Kyle here, just to give you the rundown on what's happening. At which point, Kyle steps forward. Right. I hope everyone had a pleasant flight, or flights. There's very rarely getting a direct flight out here these days.
It was definitely an interesting flight.
Well, a bit turbulence, or
You could say that.
A little bit of turbulence, a little bit of excitement.
A little bit of turbulence more turbulence for some people than others.
I can pretty much sleep anywhere. Get me on a flight, I'll be out like a light. So it takes the really bad turbulence to wake me up. But anyway, enough about me. How much have you been briefed on so far? Because I don't particularly want to teach you how to suck eggs.
We're all in on this together then, yes?
Yeah, he does a kind of count round, looking at each clocking each face. I think we have one other agent scheduled to come in. He flicks through a set of notes on the desk. That would be actually more of a scientist. Actually, he looks a little bit confused and kind of raises an eyebrow and scratches his head. I don't know why they've assigned a nuclear physicist to this, but fair enough.
Well, it sounds like a standard walk-in. That's kind of what we've been briefed on. And, my assumption here is that Dr. Jacoby and this upcoming scientist are here to vet the information that Kazakov can give us, depending on which way, if it's more of a technical nature, if it's more nuclear or tactical or whatever, then it looks like we have everybody here who could either vouch for his information or tell him it sucks, right?
Yeah, he nods. Yeah, that certainly seems plausible. Not a name I've come across, admittedly. Does anyone recognise Natalia Volkova? Is anyone that you've worked with before?
Not me.
The name sounds familiar.
No.
Not me. I've been here in the Soviet bloc on the border for close to a year and a half.
How thoroughly has she been vetted? Obviously, she has a Russian name.
Oh yeah, I believe that. She's definitely got clearance from the top. Otherwise, she wouldn't be on. It would be on this.
This is true.
And that your names have been put together at almost the highest level for this. So I'm pretty much given what I'm going with what I've been given.
Well, am I to understand that we are to meet Mr. Otkumajash, the information dealer, and he is going to help us set up a meeting with Kosikov?
Yes, that is correct. In fact, that'll be happening tomorrow night. Majash, he does pause for a second. You met with the regional director, yes?
Yes.
Yeah. How did he pronounce his name?
Makar.
You can see him roll his eyes and think, yeah, the man doesn't understand anything about Turkey. His interests are more out towards the more Arabic-speaking countries. At least he knows the language. Yes, Turkish language does not function the way you think it does. But yes, Majash, not Makar. He's agreed to a meeting tomorrow night at the Galata Tower. It's been converted some time ago to a series of nightclubs, restaurants on the upper floors. And it seems to be, in this post-war era of espionage in town, it seems to be the new Park Hotel, that it's become a hotbed for any of our organisations and intelligence agencies to want to get a table there. We know still some that like the old ways and still go to the places like the Park and the Pera Palace Hotel. Particularly the Brits, they love the Pera Palace. He rolls his eyes a bit. But yeah, the Galata Tower is a seemingly understandable location for him to choose. Dinner will be tomorrow at 7 o'clock. He will then brief you on the time and location that Kazakov will choose for the initial meet. You are to go to that initial meeting, make contact, find out what terms he wants to come in by, and try to get any and all information out of him as much as you possibly can. So we want to try and, let's say, make this a nice, profitable walk-in. Or if it does turn out that he is a plant or this is some kind of ruse, that at least, again, we can get as much out of it before we just throw him back to his superiors.
Sure.
Oh, we'll make him talk. We'll make him talk. Promise.
Yeah, he smiles at that, but you can see there's almost a slight look of worry in his eyes.
Yeah, me too.
In terms of local situation, do we know if the other side's got eyes on him?
Honestly, we're not sure. We do know that Kazakov is normally accompanied by a business partner when he comes in from Odessa.
Mm-hmm.
That individual, he quickly flicks through his notes. Ugly-looking guy. Definitely not one that you'd have to worry about stealing your girlfriend. He is... Commercial break, as my computer suddenly decides to go really slow. Vladimir Tumanov.
So another Vlad.
Oh, there's Vadim and Vlad. They sound fairly similar.
Tumanov?
Yes.
Do we know how Tumanov and him are connected other than just being business partners?
Oh, they're both ex-Soviet Navy. He was a captain second rank. So Kazakov technically outranks Tumanov.
Two captains in the Soviet Navy.
Is Tumanov his muscle?
I think from what we've seen, Kazakov himself is more of the muscle than Tumanov is.
Okay.
Tumanov is, like I say, he's not exactly renowned for his looks. I think he would be more akin to having a gun in his hand rather than using his fists. He's not muscle in that sense. Now,
is Tumanov in on it, or do we have to keep this from Tumanov?
Good question. I suppose that'll be one to put to Kazakov.
We'll have to figure that out for ourselves. Be discreet.
Has Kazakov given us any kind of do we know any sort of his background? You mentioned that Tumanov is his business partner. Is Kazakov fronting as a businessman for any particular?
Yep, for Odessa Marine Exports. They are a Soviet company which are establishing various trade routes across the Black Sea. This is something we've seen with various ex-Navy or even current Navy figures within the region. Their knowledge of the area, because of the contacts they have in various ports, they're being picked up by the KGB as prime recruitment. They're an asset they can't pass up. And so they're using that regional knowledge to give them an edge when they set someone here to be their home turf. Both Kazakov and Tumanov were stationed in the Black Sea while they were in active service. And now both of them were recruited into, as far as we can tell, both of them were recruited into Odessa Marine Exports about 5 years ago. And so they've served a similar time. They've done a similar job. They make circuits of the sea, pick up new business. It then gives an in for the KGB, or they say the intelligence services, to various companies to be able to track movements of goods going across the region. Again, port ship movements, the works.
So that actually gives us an in as far as pretending to be American consulate officials seeking to make trades with East-West relations. So it makes it look like that's what we're meeting him for.
Yep, that's why virtually any consulate agent you find in this city is almost got a very high probability of being a spy. Right. Do you have any other questions for myself at the moment?
Who do I talk to? There's a bit of information in another direction that I'd like to pursue, and I'd like to get, for instance, the manifest of the airplane that we were last on, the passenger manifest. It's just a hunch. I have a funny hunch about one of the passengers.
Okay, he raises an eyebrow. Well, do you think you've been made?
Well, I'll admit, there was somebody who gave me some very strange looks, but I don't believe she was an agent of any kind.
Okay, he thinks for a second, then he nods. I can get someone on that. It may take a few hours, but we can probably get that for you.
I just need first class, so.
Oh, that'd be even easier then.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll get on that.
Is there going to be a way to arm up, get munitions?
He looks at you, he just goes slightly wider-eyed for a second. Consular agents aren't exactly renowned for carrying firearms around the city, but if you believe that this is something that could get hot rather quickly, then we can provide firearms, yes. I would be very anxious to make sure that you keep them, and only as a last resort. But yeah, we can get you something.
I appreciate it.
We're going in as businessmen, pretending to broker a deal with him. That should also give us a way to say to Mr. Tumanov that we need to speak to Kazakov in private without his assistant there.
Okay. He does a quick look around the rest.
Well, failing that, we can always concoct some reason to separate the two.
Of course. All right. I can't think of any other questions, gentlemen.
I'm just admiring his suit. Bespoke recognizes bespoke, right?
Yeah, even down to his suit, Leighton has several creases that he has yet to address. It seems like he's quite happy to look on face value vaguely professional, but it is an emphasis on the vaguely.
I'm talking about Harlow's suit.
Oh, Harlow, sorry. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You want to meet his tailor. They've done a good job.
Oh, I probably already have.
Right.
How about lodging and such? How are we?
Leighton chuckles. That was exactly my next point I was going to bring up. He reaches into a drawer, or pulls open the drawer and reaches in, and then hands out. Mitchell, he's got 8 envelopes. So he looks between you and then hands 2 across to Jacoby and says, I'll give you the extra one for your nuclear physicist. Again, he raises an eyebrow when she arrives.
All right.
That you can hand this to her. We have lodgings set for you. We didn't want to put you up in a hotel because we don't know how long you're going to be here. So we wanted to give you a somewhat more stable base of operations. It is a little bit of a hike from here, but we want to have you stationed in Bealoo, mainly because that is the international district. It's where a lot of the other consulates are. We are a little bit removed from them up here. It'll be a way for you to pretty much be on the ground where most things happen in the city. It's also not that far from the Glass Tower, so it means that you have a good place to retreat back to should anything happen, or you don't have to worry about travel time, particularly having to rush through downtown. You can quite happily walk from there. It's an apartment complex, or apartment block. There are, I believe, 8 rooms in the apartment, so there'll be enough for you all. Enough to have private space and so on. In each envelope you'll find a key for each one. Divide them up as you want. So if anyone wants to claim a particular room, then fight it out amongst yourselves. I'm not bothered about who's where or next to who, as long as you all get along and do your job, really. Harlow, at that point, coughs as interjection. Yes, about doing a job here. I can't stress enough that this is a particularly well-oiled, well-run ship that we have here. And pardon me if I'm being a bit blunt, I don't want you fucking it all up. So just make sure that you do a good job, that you do it right, and you don't cause us any unnecessary aggro. I'm not particularly fond of having the individuals here we've already got, but obviously doing duty for country and such. So just make sure don't cause me any aggro. Otherwise, I'm quite happy to call some friends of mine in rather high places to make sure that you get slingshot back across that Atlantic as fast as you fucking can. Do I make myself clear?
Absolutely, sir.
Oi.
Crystal.
Yes, sir.
Perfect. He has a big grin.
We won't disappoint you.
He slaps Leighton very hard on the back, noticeably hard on the back, and then says, "Right, gents, you can have the office for as long as you need."
Just one last thing. If we're posing as businessmen, are we being given legends, or are we expected to come up with that ourselves?
No, they've already been provided. You should have some documentation that will be able to confirm that. Okay. He looks to Leighton, and Leighton nods.
Very well.
Right, I'll leave you to discuss if you wish to ask Leighton anything further. Otherwise, I will bid you good day.
All right.
Good day, sir.
Okay. Harlow nods and strides out with a remarkable, arrogant confidence.
So this isn't his office that we're sitting in?
Oh, it is his office, but he's leaving. He says you can have the office for as long as you need to talk to Leighton for.
I see. Oh, to talk to Leighton. Well, it all sounds very straightforward. Don't you all think, gentlemen?
Agreed.
That's what scares me.
That should always make you nervous.
Yep.
And there's so many of us for one job. It's so straightforward.
And a nuclear physicist involved in it as well.
Yes, that's quite unusual, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's like I said, I think it's just for vetting specialized information. That's my guess. Because, Kasakov could rattle off a bunch of crap, and if you don't know what he's talking about, we could say, oh, yeah, that sounds right. But if you've got a specialist there, they can kind of tell pretty quick if they're talking out of their ass or not.
That makes sense.
Well, I think what sounds prudent is that Miss Volkova and I will sit in the background as observers, and we'll give you a signal if Volkov says anything significant in those lines. I'm not sure. I think that that we should go in posing. Well, we're posing as businessmen. Somebody should take the lead. Somebody should be the assistant, and the rest of us should be other members that are there simply to observe.
Members of the entourage.
And we'll be in the background, but we'll be there to feed you signals Tap on the shoulder.
Thinking like a cynic. What happens if we get made?
Well, that would be very bad.
That would be very bad.
Part of this is we don't want the CIA embarrassed.
But what I'm getting at is, do we have an exit strategy? Do we have any sort of plans? Do we take him and run? Do we just run? Do we...
No. It costs a lot of money to do something like this. We're vetting him to see if he's worth taking out. If he just wants to defect and he's a ballet dancer, we're not interested.
He can walk into any embassy and defect.
But if he's a KGB agent and a member, and he's has been a member of the Navy, then he may have information that's extremely valuable, in which case we do want to lift him. We want to do it covertly, and we want to get him out of there as quickly as possible. As to the full extent of what he knows, that can be explored by the CIA once he's in custody, but we'll find out if it's worth taking him out to begin with, otherwise.
So we're not going to be involved in debriefing him?
Well, partly, just to begin, but, you know.
I think we need to begin the vetting process. I think that's why we're here. We're the tip of the spear. So, and then if he gives us something good that's verified by our panel of experts, then we roll him to the front door, ring the doorbell, let them pick up the baby in the basket on the front doorstep, and then our job is done.
So we don't have any other contacts. There's no one who's been specifically grooming this guy. He's literally just coming in now.
Yeah, it's a walk-in, as they say. Yeah.
It's us, yeah. And we're the ones that have to make the decision.
Right, well then who takes point? Because I'm not necessarily a good talker, unless you count my fists as solving a problem.
Well, you and Ian and Henry are the agents, aren't you?
Well, we've got intelligence agents and we've got field agents. And GM, this is a question for you. Who usually takes point in that? Because I think we're pretty much split down the middle. We've got 3 intelligence officers, and I think we've got 2 or 3 field agents.
Depends on the mission type. If you've got something that's more proactive out in the field, then obviously your field agents would be more inclined to take the lead. Whereas this is potentially somewhere in the middle ground. At the minute, it would seem more like an intelligence analyst role, because, as I say, you are gathering information about the defector, and then assessing whether it's going to be of validity or worth. But then, obviously, finding out and how you assess that validity might fall into a field agent category.
Right.
This is very much decided between yourselves.
Well, I've been with the company out of college, so I'm getting ready to hit 18 years. I speak fluent Turkish, fluent German. I think I'm the oldest agent here. I'm 38. Does anybody want to top it?
36.
51.
All right.
But if you speak fluent Turkish, but what's better is, can you speak Russian?
I speak fluent Russian.
There we go.
Yeah.
But from what we understand, Kosikov has a formal education. He speaks English as well.
Right.
So if we're building rapport, maybe nice for us to speak Russian. And I can speak Russian, but like I said, I'm not good at the talking thing.
I speak a bit of Russian. I mean,
well,
in the 50s, they made us all learn Russian.
Our intelligence officers, Robert, it's actually Robert, Ian, and Henry. No, Robert, Ian, and Henry. And then Mr. Combs, you are a field agent.
I'm a covert operative.
So you need to kind of take the security aspect of the whole thing, wouldn't you?
That's why I asked about an exit strategy.
I think that's where you and Mr. O'Sullivan come in. If it goes sideways, we need you to get our asses out of there.
I do think you should carry a weapon, but carry it concealed.
No, a handgun.
That's what I was looking. I agree.
In the jacket won't be suspicious at all. I think that's what O'Sullivan was mentioning.
That's all I was referring to. I didn't want to take a bazooka in there or anything.
What we need to do is go to Galata Tower this morning and scope it out. See, you wanted an exit strategy. We need to make sure we know the place well.
Right.
We've got to make sure that they don't have metal detectors as you're going into the nightclubs.
We also need to go, probably only 2 of us. Having 6 people.
No, why don't you and Eamon go?
I think that's a good idea. Eamon, do you have any military science expertise?
Let's
Anything
see.
like that?
Do I have? Yeah, I was. Sorry. Hi, I do. Yep.
All right. Well, then I think that me and Eamon would probably be the best choices. But
And also, I think we need to remember, just from a gaming point of view, it's the early 70s. So I don't think that there's going to be entry points and metal scanners. I mean, these are nightclubs. These are civilian areas, right? These are just, we are going in to blend in. It's not like they're going to frisk us when we walk in the door.
No.
So I think that, small handguns, I mean, as long as they're concealed well, I think we're going to be okay.
I would say not to disagree, but gangsters have walked into nightclubs since the 1920s, so people know that they're handguns. They might frisk you when you come in the door. We don't, I've never been to Galata Tower. First of all, I what you guys said is true. 2 of you going is by far enough. However, if we all went together, it probably wouldn't make a difference. Galata Tower is a very famous landmark in the city, and there's thousands of tourists there all day long. So
I think we all need to be familiar with it before we go there, but we don't need to go in like a pack of dogs.
No.
Onesie twosies is fine, right?
Well, I think
That's suspicious.
Tourists.
Two or three of us turning up and having lunch there. Can't get any more innocuous than that, can you?
Now, we do need to have a slight contingency. As I say, I've never been to Galata Tower. I'm not a nightclub sort of person. However, I do live in the city, and I work in the city, and there's always a remote chance that somebody might recognize me. I'm not really a medical doctor, but people around the university might have seen me. There was a woman on the airplane that seemed to recognize me. I'm very good with faces, but I didn't recognize her at all. And I'm sure that she's not an agent.
She recognized you.
Yeah, she did. As we're sitting here, I have to admit, Mr. O'Sullivan, you look very familiar. Have we met before?
I was wondering if you were going to bring it up. I was also wondering what a doctor was doing in this group.
Where have we met?
He just looks to the side. And this dude's, big dude, right? Trying to keep it not flexing out of his suit. And he just kind of sniffs, and I think he lights up a cigarette at this point, not wanting to talk about it, but he kind of feels cornered. And he's like, takes a hit, and he's like, Plum Island.
Plum Island. That's where I know you from.
Yeah. Right. Saving lives like a good old doctor.
Yeah. We'll discuss that relationship later on.
Looking forward to it.
How many of you gentlemen have been to the 10th floor of the how was it?
Century House?
Yeah, of Century House.
Right,
Do we all know it?
Well,
for those of you, well, in this case, all of you, because you're all members of Section 46, know that the section does have a set of offices on the 10th floor of Century House in London. This is SIS headquarters, so the British Intelligence Agency, where Section 46 originated from as of the remains of the SOE in World War II. Yeah, it's a kind of a coded handshake sounding out to say, are you members of Section 46 as well?
Oh, right.
That's essentially what he's doing.
Okay.
All right.
I'm more close friends with them than I am the CIA.
No, don't mention. This is a covert thing. We've got a man in here that's.
Oh yeah,
CIA.
I forgot that we were all. I forgot that. Don't say that. I thought it was just us.
It's just a number. It's just a number.
No, Harlow left. Leighton has been basically sat on the other side of the desk.
Leighton's still here. I completely forgot about that. He's just sitting there quietly, just like listening to us.
Yeah, he's just sitting back and watching all of you talk, and you can see he's taking mental notes.
Well, since you are familiar, we'll have a great deal to discuss, but we can plan later some of this, if you understand me.
Yeah, I'm surprised you actually brought that up with him in the room.
He wouldn't know what it means.
Yeah, you do catch a look that he tries to give a bit of a poker face, but again, you see that raised eyebrow as if, what the hell are you talking about? A look comes over his face.
Yeah. Well, gentlemen, shall we? This office is a little stuffy. Shall we go find our rooms and do some recon and?
Let's get to work.
Yes, let's roll, as the young people say.
You know, Mr. Leighton, I do have a place of my own here. However, I will stay in the facilities that you've got for us, just for the sake of convenience.
Oh, it's up to you. I mean, if you've got somewhere more central that you prefer to be, then that's no skin off our nose.
All right. Well, perhaps we'll use both of them.
Yeah, I mean, as you wish.
So,
I can have a driver get you to the address without any issue. In fact, I'll have them lined up downstairs by the time you get down there.
all right, excellent.
Oh, I wanted to ask, either in-game or the GM. So, like, my specialty is in tech and surveillance. What, as far as like acquiring gear, like communication devices or like a bug sweeper, that sort of thing, do I normally have that at my fingertips, or do I need to go through proper channels to get that sort of stuff?
No, as it's your specialty, and it's also something they could get in the diplomatic bag relatively easily. You will have access to that. That is your thing. That you have the equipment you need to do your thing.
Okay, great, thank you.
Let's make you do manifests for it. That'll take a whole episode.
I've already requested the manifest for the airplane. Hopefully, it won't be somebody named
the Manifests of Madness.
If I have to eat one bite of pemmican on this trip,
oh God, no pemmican, no pemmican.
No, not gonna happen.
Already running beyond the mountains of madness with another group. That is going to stick to them. Not this.
I've already started drinking my urine. I began on the plane.
I'll call the airport and find out I have to talk. Everything goes through Brian.
But, in which case, Leighton gets out from behind the desk and says, "If you're all done, then, gentlemen, I'll get your driver ready."
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much, sir.
And he leaves the room.
All right. As we are going downstairs, I want to say something to Mr. O'Sullivan, just quietly as we're going down the stairwell, that I just say to him, if you feel any animosity towards me, we can discuss that later.
He's like getting near the end of his cigarette. He's like, I don't know what to think yet. I believe we're taking our enemies, not saving them, but we can discuss it.
There's more to the story than you know.
All right, I'm sure there is.
All right. So we all get in our car?
Yep, you head downstairs. They have a long, actually stretch limo in this instance. This is marked up with flags at the front. This seems to be very much for almost like the diplomatic fleet that they wheeled this out from. See the driver there with a peak cap opens the doors for you, and that's you all inside with plenty of room. Unfortunately, the drinks cabinet has already been decanted, so there's only a tantalising gap left in the row where there should be some very fine whiskey. But
there's no alcohol?
No, it looks like they've drained it dry.
No.
You can tell they definitely don't want you here.
Wow. Is it who's the driver? Is it
no one that you recognise? You don't think they are. You don't think they're CIA. You think they're just consulate staff.
Right.
Probably one of the regular drivers, given the fact he's got uniform and so forth.
All right.
Otherwise, he gets behind the wheel and starts to drive you back to Bayalu.
All right.
I think Eamon's the kind of guy that went straight for the good stuff and then sits back with a huff when he sees that it's dry.
Now we're in different. They've crammed a few of us in each car.
No, it's one stretch limo, so there's room for all of you in there.
Oh, all right, excellent. Do they have party lights? No. All right. So I assume we get back to our place where we're staying.
Oh, almost. It would be a little dull if it was that that easy. Can people give me a spot hidden roll as you are rolling back towards town?
That's loud. Wow.
Don't tell me someone's going to be hating as we be rolling.
I passed with a hard.
I passed with an extreme.
Got a hard success.
I failed, I'm afraid.
Those of you that pass, it's fairly not obvious, but they're not attempting to be particularly stealthy about it. There is a car following you. Picks you up a little way outside, about maybe 5 minutes from the consulate, and then just keeps a nice discreet distance, about 2 cars back most of the way.
Sort of car.
Do you think
Black sedan.
You think it's MIT?
But it definitely looks like it's a standard. It's a standard Turkish car. It could be.
I'm wondering aloud to them.
Turkish plates?
Who else?
Yes.
I know.
Just civvy plates.
Civvy.
Yeah. Milli ijtibarat teşkilatı. Maybe. Still, they're just going to think we're consulate people.
Hopefully.
And it could be standard operating procedure if someone new comes in town. I mean,
They want to know what's going on in their town, in their city.
Right.
The car pretty much sticks with you all the way to your apartment. At which point the limo pulls over. The driver gets out, starts opening the doors for you, and this car parks up right behind the limo.
Yeah. Well, we're all sitting ducks with no weapons.
I will say to everyone, kind of in a low, it could be our friends from 47.
You mean from
46?
From the 10th floor?
Yes, from the 10th floor.
You were so close. So close.
So close.
Not likely. Well, everybody be on guard, but I think we're just going to go walk inside like we didn't even notice.
Well, I'm going to definitely
tip the driver.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he gladly takes it. He's a bit surprised that he's getting a tip, but very much nods, smiles as well. Thank you very much, sir.
I'm just a visiting businessman. I don't know what the etiquette is.
What were you saying, Jeff?
I was just going to say I'm waiting in the car until O'Sullivan and
you'll let O'Sullivan and
Combs and O'Sullivan. I'm letting them get out of the car first.
I was actually gonna try to hang back and see who got out, but if you're feeling that way, you can they'll just get out and walk in.
I guess I'll get out as well, and I won't even glance at the Sedan, I'll follow O'Sullivan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we throw our aviators on for maximum coolness, and then
Maximum badassery. That's how you know we're cool.
Yeah. And then sure, I mean, yeah, just get out and just take our time. It's real casual. Just walk in.
Okay. Can we guess that all of our baggage has been transferred to the hotel? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the apartment block. So all the bags are inside waiting for you.
All right.
So you said that it actually parked right behind the limo, right?
Yep, it has.
If I go around the back and I look in the front windshield, is it native Turkish drivers or passengers or?
No, he looks very much a Westerner.
Okay.
It's a single man sat in the driver's seat. He's probably late 30s, slightly rugged appearance, wearing a shirt and trousers, no tie, so collar undone at the neck. And he, as you walk around the car, he sees you coming, and he does actually lock eyes with you and smile.
Interesting.
He seems to be waiting until the last people get out of the car. Mainly then when, unless, LeBeau, are you planning on doing anything lingering after everyone's gone?
No, I guess not. Just making sure that our muscle gets out before me, that's all.
Okay.
Sponges?
With everyone out of the car and then the driver starting to close the doors, that's the point when the guy in the car behind you gets out. So he closes the door behind him, and in a very definite British accent, for those that have been there, probably you suspect the kind of Greater London area, he smiles broadly, says, "Gentlemen, I understand you're new in town."
I'm sorry, we don't speak to reporters. And
he suddenly does a bit of a backtrack. I'm not a reporter. I actually work for the British Consulate.
Oh.
He walks over towards you as you've engaged him. Grant Lorimer, pleased to meet you.
How do you do?
So he shakes hands to anyone that will gladly take his anyway.
Yes, I'll shake hands with him. So are you attached to the trade attaché?
Yes. Yeah, although a bit more attached to a desk than I would like these days. It's actually my lunch break that I'm out on at the moment. I heard from some mutual friends that there was a new detachment that had come into town, and I thought I would basically do the good old British introductions.
Oh, we're just a very boring trade delegation.
I'm sorry, what was your last name again, sir?
Lorimer.
Lorimer?
Lorimer.
MER.
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
What do I know about Grant Lorimer?
What trusts do you have, or organisational knowledge?
I have a 40% trust and 20% organizational knowledge.
Okay. Anything with SIS?
No, it's divided equally between CIA and 46.
It's not a name that's cropped up on your record before, either as... Oh, no, actually, you can roll Trust CIA.
All right. Yep, 11 out of 40.
Right. He's a known SIS agent, so he is with British intelligence. But he seems to be liked more by the CIA than he is by his own side. Yeah, he's definitely a name that's cropped up in some intelligence reports that have come out from the Istanbul office, and he has made contact with people there before. So he is a known friendly.
I'll be assuming as well that the standard euphemism applies when describing someone as a trade delegate. During the 70s, trade delegate pretty much meant spy.
Yeah.
So,
I think we can, it's a little bit of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge situation. It sounds like.
Yeah. He's basically saying, "Hey, I'm a spy. I've heard more spies are in town. I thought I'd come say hello."
We should all be spies together.
We aren't trade delegates. All right.
Yeah, so he shakes hands. So I thought I'd come do the kind of the good old hello. And, well, an extended hello. I was wondering if you wanted to join myself and some of my associates for dinner tonight.
You buy?
Now, our meeting is tomorrow night, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're down for that. We would love to. Thank you for your kind offer.
Hey, thank you. Are you happy with us choosing site, or is there any way that you particularly would like? I mean, we can recommend a number of good restaurants. I mean, the Pera Palace has a wonderful restaurant, and especially a very good pastry there as well.
A lot of history there at the Pera Palace. Yeah.
It's your town. We appreciate the effort, and we trust you.
Okay. Yeah. I'll say provisionally then, say we meet at the Pera Palace, say about 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Excellent.
Palace, 7:30 for 8.
Okay. If you ask the concierge when you get there for the Donaldson table, then you'll find myself and my colleagues there.
Donaldson table. Okay.
It's good to see a friendly face in town. Thank you so much for stopping by.
No problem. So, like I said, just heard you turned up on the radar and thought I'd make contact before you came to us. I thought I'd get my foot in the door first.
Appreciate it.
Right. He nods, winks, and says, "Yeah, be seeing you." And he heads back to the car.
All right. So let's go inside, gentlemen. Find our rooms, and then perhaps have a small conference.
Perfect.
Yeah, let's do that.
Now, in terms of facilities in this
whiskey.
apartment, do we have a secure line to the consular?
Yep. You are given the number for a secure dial-up.
Okay.
And there is a phone that's been installed to that effect as well.
Right.
Now,
we didn't get the name of the apartment complex.
It just seems to be a very nondescript block. There's a row of about 15 of these buildings altogether. They don't quite adjoin. There are some very narrow alleyways between them. But on this street, pretty much both sides, you've got buildings that are between 3 and 4 stories tall, all of a similar construction, all seem to be about dated the same age, and this does seem to be a very much residential area. There are cars parked out on the street. The street's aligned with the occasional tree at a regular distance. It's a nice, quiet area, really.
Cool.
So you're about 4 or 5 blocks away from where the Pera Palace and the British Consulate buildings are. Right, thinking of the facilities as well, at least in their terms of appearance, it's 50 shades of brown. You know, it's the 70s when it's all brown. Yeah, there's a lino floor. It's the height of practicality, but yeah, not so much on the visuals.
A little bit of orange, maybe.
Yeah.
but even the orange looks brown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially when flanked by 2 other colours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. With some string art on the wall.
There's not much by way of artwork. The building does seem to be very, very sparse in terms of art or decor. Pretty much just the one colour scheme has permeated throughout. You have the keys between you. There are 3 rooms on the first the topmost floor, the next one down, and then 2 rooms on the ground floor, with a communal kitchen area making up the block that would have been like the equivalent of the 3rd room. So you've got your 8 bedrooms and communal kitchen area.
Okay.
So this is like one small building that we're all sharing?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Like an extended stay. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they
we each have our own individual rooms.
Yep, the keys that you're given in the envelopes, each one is assigned, basically has a room that it will open. So if you want to pick any particular room, then you basically just sort through the keys and then take that up to your room.
I'll take a top floor room.
I like bottom floor.
Should we just pick room numbers?
Yeah, so 1 and 2 ground floor, 3, 4, 5 on the second floor, and then 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8 on the top floor.
Okay, I'll take 205.
I'm going to go for number 1 because I don't want to be up and down those stairs all day.
So I'm in 5.
I'll take 8.
7.
You said Henry said 2 or 1?
I'm in 1.
I'll take 2 if no one else wants it.
I didn't get to my thing fast enough. Where is everybody?
Combs, what you're thinking?
Jeff, where are you?
7.
Bill?
8.
8. Mick?
1.
Thomas?
I'll take 3.
3. Lucas?
2.
2. I'm in 5. So that's going to put Wayne in 6 when he shows up eventually. All right. I'll email that to everybody.
Start casually checking out the security of this little place. Probably not much, but
Well,
exit.
gentlemen, shall we meet in maybe there's a conference room or something in?
Yeah, it's the kind of shared kitchenette area. It's there are facilities there, but there's also facilities in each of your apartments. They have a small kitchenette area for themselves. So this is more like a communal area that has kitchen facilities as well.
Where would you like to meet to have a little discussion? Are you guys going to sweep your rooms to make sure there's no bugging devices? Or?
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I'll after I unpack my basic gear, I'll start doing a sweep.
Okay. Can you give me a signals roll? You're looking for an extreme success.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I just like to check out all the windows and exits and just have a layout of the land, so to speak.
I'm doing something similar to O'Sullivan.
Mm-hmm. All the rooms seem to be laid out in a similar format. They all have they all have a lounge area which has a sofa, small dining table, 4 chairs, a small television and radio. They have a bedroom, 2 single beds in each, bathroom and a small kitchenette. Each one also has pinned to the back of the door a small business card for Seran Letting, which is the letting agency that looks after the building, saying in the event of any electrical problems or mechanical issues, please call this number for a technician to come or repairman to come and deal with the problem.
Okay.
How did you get on with your signals, LeBeau?
You said extreme, right?
Yep.
I missed it by 5 points, and I'm tempted to spend luck if I can.
You certainly can.
Yeah, I know it's early in the game, but I think it's important to have a clean sweep. So.
No problem.
It's like Pulp Cthulhu. Spend that luck.
Yeah. I just hate spending it so early in the game, though. That's all.
This is a fairly important sweep to make.
I think so.
And you get multiple hits.
Ah.
There are bugs in the light. You find bugs in one of the plug sockets in the wall, because they would have to be connected to a power source for them to be operable for a long period of time. One is in a plug socket in the wall near the door. The other one is in a light socket above the main lounge area.
So at the earliest convenience, I'll get everyone's attention, let them know, and then I'm going to recommend that we leave them operating for the moment.
Right.
And then we can talk somewhere else where it's safer.
Do you say do you point out the bugs without saying that there are bugs in the room?
Yeah.
Now, I assume that the individual rooms are clean.
Goddamn cockroaches. There's one over there. There's one over there. They're everywhere.
They left mints in all of our rooms.
So Jeff, you've shared this information with us, correct? That there are bugs.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
I would like to take the opportunity to take up my notepad and write a note and then kind of just show it to everyone saying, maybe speak at Jacoby's,
Mm-hmm.
but we may not be bugged.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this would be bugged.
Well,
Anyways,
my question is, I assume Jeff went and swept all the individual rooms, but the only bugs he found were the 2 in the common area. Is that correct?
No, this was in his room.
Oh, these were okay. So he's only made a sweep on his room.
All of our rooms are bugged.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's just assume. Yeah.
Yeah, having known where to look as a result of the roll, if you allow him if you then go to all the other private rooms and the common area, every single room in the building is bugged.
Okay.
I think, gentlemen, however, if I'm throwing this out there, GM. Most of the buildings in Constantinople, you can go up onto the roof, and there's a kind of an area where you can sit, under it.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
My guess is that area is not bugged. We can check it, but there's no power up there.
Yep, there is indeed a observation platform on the roof, as again on pretty much all the buildings here. If you head up there and LeBeau does his sweep up there, you are perfectly right, Jacoby. It is clean.
Which is amazing because you need to visualize Turkish rooftops because there's a lot of electrical wire, there's a lot of dishes, there's a lot of that kind of Christmas tree light almost, where the wires are kind of hung haphazardly all over the place. So, I mean, LeBeau's good. Let's put it that way, right?
And there's just no way to have a wire come down to the table in front of you.
Right, exactly, yeah. That's not obvious at all.
So I suggest we have some coffee and sit up there and have a little discussion, unless, of course, there's other people up there, but I don't think
there's no one else staying in your block. There is, in fact, a table and some garden chairs that have been set up there. Mm-hmm. So it is somewhere that you can see. This is a common feature on a lot of the houses, a lot of the blocks going down this street. That it does seem that various other people have had the same idea over the years.
So
I do know how to make Turkish coffee, so I can hook everyone up if they've never had it.
Are the pantries stocked?
Yeah, they've got a reasonable amount of food there. There is plenty of coffee. Also, some imported American foods, so that it gives you a little bit of that taste of home, rather than all being local produce. So yeah, you've got some supplies there.
I can make coffee, or I can make chai.
Well, is chai even a thing in 1970s?
Yes, it's tea. It's traditional Turkish tea served in little cups with a 1 sugar cube.
Okay.
Pretty delicious.
I'll go for some coffee.
I'll go for the coffee. You'll need a variki. Hopefully you have a variki.
Oh, yeah. I assume there's one provided.
Somewhere as well.
It's like having a Mr. Coffee, right? They're standard issue.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
They leave alcohol here.
For yourselves, there's pretty much just coffee. There are glasses, so plenty of wine glasses, but obviously no wine to go with it.
What's the traditional Turkish drink? Is it raki? Rakia?
Mm-hmm.
There is an alcohol that's produced in Turkey that's kind of.
I know that the word for beer is Efes.
One of these survival tips there: always know how to ask for a beer somewhere.
There you go.
I think Eamon's looking through the cupboards and it's just kind of like, so he's.
We'll pick you up something.
Yeah. All right.
All right. So once you guys we'll set a time. Once everybody is situated, then we'll go up to the roof and have a chat.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. We should kind of visually sweep the area, make sure there's not some guy on that roof over there with a little thing, pointed at us, listening to what we're saying.
Yeah, no directional microphones up there.
Lower the cone of silence.
We're not that advanced yet.
Did they get that ever to work?
Missed it by that much.
That's. Oh, I was going to talk about our game last night with all the locks on the door, just like Get Smart. But all right. Oh. So I put all my stuff away and...
Yeah, nothing interrupts you. Say you know where to. Maybe occasionally looking at that plug socket on the wall or that light fixture out of the corner of your eye. But there's no video; it's all audio here.
Right.
I'm going to turn on the radio in the communal area before we go upstairs.
Mm-hmm. There you go.
Decent quality. You have to adjust it slightly, twiddling the knob until it finally locks in. But yeah, there's plenty of choice of local radio stations, either music or talk.
Some nice old school arabesque.
Yeah, there'll definitely be something playing. It's by this point it's like mid-afternoon, so yeah, you've definitely got plenty of choice.
It's Rocky. It's the stuff. Raki.
Ah.
Okay. So are we all up on the roof now?
Yep.
All right.
I'll serve coffee.
So, gentlemen, start with the first part of this little bit of a story. When we were on the airplane, there was a drunk man who bumped into Agent LeBeau and dropped this, and I pulled it out and I set it on the table. It's a small golden cone-shaped thing with vine sort of designs around it. Looks very old, somewhat crude. Do any of you have any idea what this might be? I do.
I don't, but perhaps, GM, could I do maybe an appraise roll?
Yeah, you certainly can.
See how much it's actually worth, if it's worth anything.
That's solid gold.
And I passed 33 out of 50.
Okay. Having a look at it, approximately 2 ounces in weight. It's curiously formed shaped for a gold nugget, but it does look as though it's been fashioned. It's definitely not, obviously, a natural occurrence. It has got artwork embedded into it. Gold averages at this point approximately $160 per ounce throughout the mid-70s. So this puts this about $320 worth of gold.
It's not worth that much, but it does look like there's actually artistic features.
Yes. Yeah, this has definitely been carved, or etched, rather, yes.
This fell from the man's pocket. He was drunk at the time. He, I'm sure, didn't realize at the time that he lost it. Agent LeBeau found it, and I somewhat recognize it.
Yeah, I'm kind of like patting my pockets and looking at you a little strange because I'm like, I thought it was in my jacket pocket.
I thought you gave it to me.
That's okay. I'm just kidding.
Sure. Well, gentlemen, a little bit of my background, and this also ties me together with Agent O'Sullivan there, and I look over at him. I'll let him tell part of this story, but we crossed paths in a place called Plum Island in Massachusetts. It's on the coast, and there was an incident that took place at a lighthouse. I was called in because there was a rather unusual individual who had been wounded in a firefight. I don't know all of the details of the firefight. That's where Mr. O'Sullivan can bring us up to speed. But this individual had certain unusual qualities about his body. If I were to describe his internal organ structures, I would say that he was somehow mutated halfway between a human and a fish. There were very obviously gills that he most likely could breathe underwater. At the time, I thought this was some sort of a government experiment gone wrong or something like that. Anyways, I did my best to patch the man up. I'm probably one of the only people who knows a little bit about the internal structure of these beings, these creatures. I've dubbed them Ichthyandrian, from the Greek for fish and man. So they
named them too?
I'm sorry?
You fucking named him? Jeez.
Mr. O'Sullivan was a soldier who was part of the firefight, I believe.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes.
The reason why, in addition to our obvious CIA connection and our connection to 46, I have been working on a personal mission here in the Sea of in Constantinople, because I have traced certain genetic anomalies to this area, and I believe there may be a colony of these beings living in the Sea of Marmara. Now I have a person on an airplane to this area who's dropped what looks very much like an artifact from that culture, that underwater fishman culture. I know it sounds ridiculous, but we're talking, this is all Section 46 stuff.
But how did you make the connection between them and this little thing?
I've been studying them now for a number of years, and there are some very, very interesting artifacts in Massachusetts, in museums, that have never been able to be identified. There is, in fact, a crown. It's part of their religion, I guess, if you'd call it that. In any case, there are some examples that have been found that were not identified. However, when I looked at them, I definitely recognized motifs on them that were all sort of tied together. There used to be a town in Massachusetts called Innsmouth, and I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it was rather infamous. And these people were, I don't know how to say it, they were hybrids. They were somehow interbreeding with these fish people, and there are telltale signs. I didn't see any on the gentleman that was on the airplane, but you can usually notice ridges in the neck where the gills will eventually develop and the eyes get sunken in. But that's really all I have to say. O'Sullivan, you were there that day. You saw actually more than I did.
He doesn't look like he wants to talk. He's like, he takes his drink of coffee, lights another cigarette. He's like, yeah, we were doing training on the island in the national park, and we got a call from the local sheriff. And the north end of Plum Island, there's a lighthouse where they were doing routine maintenance, changing bulbs, turning the lights on and off in rapid succession, things like that. And it was in the evening. It was after dark. I don't know if it drove them crazy or what the story is behind it, but about 20 of these freaks came out of the water and attacked the maintenance crew of the lighthouse, and we were called in after they barricaded themselves inside. Since my crew was training there, we were first responders, and we came with loaded weapons, and a firefight began. It was crazy. There was men, there were, like you said, fish people, and every combination in between. And I killed 4 myself, but I watched 2 of my comrades get ripped apart, and I took this as well. And he lifts up the left side of his shirt, he untucks his shirt across the left side of his ribs, and there's 4 long scars. There he goes. They got me a good one before I took him down. So you can imagine watching me brothers getting murdered, and then I was one of the ones who survived. They took captive, and they wanted to keep it alive for whatever fucking reason they wanted to do it. I wanted to put the bullet in his head, but at that point we had to stand down. And he just kind of looks over at Jacoby's and then some people were tasked with keeping them alive. And I don't see eye to eye on that, really.
Well, I wasn't really aware of what was going on at the time. I did what I'm supposed to do and keep the thing alive. I didn't even know it was a thing when I started cutting into him.
And you were attached to the PIADC at this time?
Who are you asking?
Plum Island.
Yeah, are you talking to me?
I was asking Dr. Jacoby.
Oh,
you went beyond what I've made up. I don't know what that is.
Plum Island. That's the only thing I know about Plum Island is that there's a biological weapons experimentation
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about.
establishment, the IADC.
Just say yeah. It makes it neater.
But it's the American version of Portland Down.
No, saying that I don't know what you're talking about is my story. I don't know anything about biological weapons.
Oh, okay. Got it.
In any case, I don't believe I'm just. This is, as I say, this is my prior 3 personal investigation. It has nothing to do with 46 or CIA at this point in time. 46 is aware of my work. However, we have not, in the past 30 years, there's been no particular hostility from these beings. But we do want to know, we do want to monitor them. We want to make sure we know what's going on and where they are. And as I said, there's some evidence that they're in the Sea of Marmara. There's a little evidence that there's some in the Black Sea, but that's what I'm working on.
So why bring this up? Do you think it has some kind of connection?
No, I'm bringing it up simply because Agent LeBeau deserves an explanation for my reaction.
Mm.
If anything, it should tell you that it has nothing to do with our mission. Gentlemen, have you been contacted by N on our current mission?
No.
Well, we're here.
I think so.
Well, wouldn't one of us still have the printouts from N?
Yep, you still do have them.
Exactly.
Well, why don't you show him the printout then? You want me to pull it up? I can pull it up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hold on just a second. Gotta find it.
I didn't mean to spout out so much crap there, but
No.
I like having weapons and being armed because unlike the crazy people that are out there, there are also a bunch of crazy monsters, and you can never be too prepared. Speaking of which, we need to requisition ourselves some firepower.
Well, not only that, even, but we're in Turkey. We're currently sitting on a payload of U.S. nuclear arms. There's probably Russians in the city just waiting to spot CIA and gun them down. So,
Here's that printout for you. Perhaps, Mr. Sullivan, you'd like to read that. Mr. Combs, maybe?
Yeah, let's go with Combs.
sure, why not? I'm good with the talking.
Tucking my shirt back in. Well, so.
Greetings to our American cousins. It has come to my attention that you are soon to be flying to Istanbul. Let me actually shrink that. That's in my way. This is an area of interest to me, and this is the first time we have had a chance to get Section 46 operatives on the ground there. Istanbul was formerly home to one of the most powerful cults in Europe, known as the Brothers of the Skin. Intelligence suggests that this cult has disappeared, perhaps in its entirety. There are numerous reasons why this might be the case. The cult has died out. They may have been destroyed by a rival power. They have gone to ground. They have moved their base of operations, etc. The fact remains that there is a perceived power vacuum in the occult underground of Istanbul that other cults may seek to exploit. If multiple factions attempt to claim the city, any resulting conflict, should it spill out into the open, could threaten the stability of the region. We need to know what is happening there. Your mission, find out what happened to the Brothers of the Skin, find out what cults are active in the city and what they are doing, assess whether any of the active cults pose an immediate threat to the safety and stability of the region / city, and if any cults do pose such a threat, deal with them as best as possible. I understand you will be directed to Uktur Bakar. I can't pronounce that name. I'm sorry.
Hi, Josh.
Okay.
It's okay.
That's his name. A known information dealer in relation to your main assignment. According to my intelligence, that guy's name is known to have been associated with various individuals active in the occult underground. It is my recommendation that he be approached for leads in regards to Section 46's concerns in the area. Best of luck, N.
There you go. So that's why we're here.
I wonder if there's a reason for something. That's something we can handle. I can get behind.
Well, and we can kill two birds with one stone tomorrow night because we're going to be meeting with Utkar Majesh.
Wow.
So do we ask him all the basic CIA questions and then we dive into the occult after that?
Yeah. We've got to figure out how we can do that.
Can I just clarify that? So I was under the impression we were meeting with Vladimir and...
No, we're meeting with Utkar Majesh to set up a meeting with Vladimir.
Right.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
It's a wall. I think it could be relatively easily done. We could just say that we fear that there's some sort of instability within the region. Do you know of any reason why that would be? And we could kind of work in the Brotherhood of the Skin. I didn't know that the Brotherhood of the Skin was completely dead. I thought that they, were still around.
Oh, you've heard of it before.
A little bit. I kind of smile. Just a tiny bit. Not too much. I deal mainly with artifacts, so to speak. So I'm not really familiar with their belief system or anything like that. Only in legends about a certain artifact they were related to, but there's not a whole lot on it.
I know that they were quite powerful in the early 20s, but I don't know. I hadn't heard anything from them since then. Very little.
Don't forget, Jess is a businessman, so we're going to have to probably pay him for this information.
Right, it's an information dealer.
Well, with an information dealer, the best thing to give an information dealer is information. Information, especially around this close to the border of the Soviet bloc, is better than any other kinds of currency.
But we need to give him something impotent that doesn't...
Something that doesn't compromise us, but something that's still worth his time. To him, his time is going to be more valuable than anything. So, asking him these questions, we need to give him something that he'll see as something worth it, but something that doesn't compromise us.
Well, we might just ask him what he wants. He may be getting information from Kosikov, and Kosikov is the one who is, we're not necessarily initiating this. Kosikov is. Kosikov may be paying him information.
That's true.
We're just dealing with the in-between person.
Well, yeah. He is a middleman, though. If we begin asking him questions that relate to it, then we would need to give him some kind of information. He's acting as the middleman, so he's just going to give us the information, he's going to vet us, and then let us through. But if we start asking him more questions, he's going to want something for that.
I look down at the little gold piece of something on the table.
And I kind of nod. I say, that could be worth something, but it's $300.
Oh, well, you're talking about melting it down into gold. It's worth far more than that as a artifact. I'm not so sure that I'd want to part with something like this, as it's part of my investigation.
Well, he may be just interested in the fact that you have information about these creatures. This guy. I don't have a whole lot of knowledge about that. I've never come into contact with something like this. And if you say that this is some kind of relic or some kind of artifact, I have no reason to say it's not.
I'm not 100% sure, but it has the same qualities that I've observed.
I'm imagining, because there's no seats. It's all like plush cushions up on the roof. Am I right? GM?
There's a garden table and some garden chairs which have been assigned around it, but there's certainly you can bring pillows up from downstairs as well if you wanted them.
Well, I'm just going to lean back and I'm going to look at the others. And I'm saying, well, though I can't disclose my full background with the organization and what I do, O'Sullivan and Jacoby kind of delved in quite a bit with their background. What are the other three of you? What's your connection to this organization?
My father was a member.
Really?
Right there.
And I didn't know that there was this kind of like familial osmosis that your father did it and then they kind of brought you into the fold.
My father was a Marine. I fell in his footsteps there.
True. But the Marines are less, they're very selective, but they're a little less selective than 46.
Well, sure. That's respectable. That's respectable.
What about you, LeBeau?
I was involved with, I don't know if mission is the right word, but with an episode in Vermont where we went in and we broke up a type of cult. So, they were worshiping something. Not entirely sure I understand what they were worshiping, but there were also elements that I can't explain rationally. And we ended up just breaking up that cult in that local area.
And that leaves Mr. Postgate.
After the war, I was recruited into a division decrypting certain coded historical documents that were recovered from Europe during and after the conflict. Some of those documents pointed to the continuing existence of certain non-state actors, which led us into collision with a number of these cult groups. From there, several of us were recruited.
Are you saying that there was collusion between actual legitimate
No, we're, as far as we were aware, the Nazis were buying, stealing, or confiscating anything they could possibly find that was connected with the occult, regardless of its veracity. So for the most part, what they had was 95% trash. Just medieval forgeries and nonsense, things that when decoded meant nothing. But among that, there were a number of key items which seemed to be linked to either cults or other works related to cults.
When Postgate mentions Nazis, there's a very subtle change in my demeanor, and I'm really paying attention to the words coming out of his mouth at that time.
So what about you, Combs?
Yeah, I was
You can't give us a lot. What's your story?
Well, I did a little bit of a tour in Vietnam. It's a tiny one. Before I fully joined 46. And let's just say that in the jungles, it's not just the Viet Cong that are killing people. There's other things. Something that the firebombing kind of just brought out. And that was my first experience with the strange. But after that, I kind of got into. I just kind of fell into the occult. That's my story. And I got picked up by 46, and that was it.
The very existence of 46 and our presence here means we aren't alone on this planet, my friends. There's other things here.
Nightmares.
The presence of 46 here means that there's something serious happening here.
That's definitely possible. We need to understand tonight when we go to dinner that our actual involvement, we're posing as consulate members who are trying to make relations between East and West, trades groups. But unless you guys are experts in the field, it's going to be a little awkward talking to some of these people tonight. I think that we need to remember that we can use the phrase, "I'm sorry, that's classified," as our catchphrase. Secret negotiations.
Can I ask, this is to players or to the GM, anyone who can kind of answer. Do we know how SIS was able to just follow us?
Part of the hint there is that where I mentioned Lorimer has more friends in the CIA than he does with his own organization.
True. Okay. I was going to say, he could have just contacted them and followed us, but I was like, in the back of my head, I was like, oh, well, if SIS can just pin us like that, the Russians can probably just pin us like that.
Well, we have discussed the fact that if in fact Kosikov is KGB, then there is a very strong chance that they're watching him, and that's why I say this could all be a trap to embarrass the CIA.
I'd be more worried if they weren't watching him. I mean, if they're not watching him, then my worry is that he could be a dangle.
Yeah, I mean, he's reaching out to the West to improve trade relations. That's a big deal, especially with this current political climate.
Well, I don't need to be talking much to him. I'm just going to sit back and drink and tell them it's classified, or to shut their mouth if they keep talking to me.
Exactly. Especially if you get into an area where you don't know what you're talking about. Just, I'm sorry, that's classified.
Many areas. Just saying there's a lot then.
Personally, I know nothing about East-West relations in that manner. I'm a doctor. Damn it, I'm a doctor.
Well, I think there's a 50-50 shot that Lorimer, it could just be a dinner with spies, right? He said that he was bringing along some friends or co-workers or something of that nature. I don't think we need to shine anybody on. I mean, the cards are on the table. Everybody's a friend of Bill W., so to speak. Everybody's, we kind of know each other's game, so we can probably just let our hair down a little bit and just relax. Don't give away any state secrets, but let's eat some nice food on their tab. Right?
Well,
This sounds. I'm not seeing anything sinister here. This is how business is done.
No, it's not sinister at all. I'm thinking that the CIA, that the SIS, they just want to know what the CIA agents are doing in their town, and that's us. I mean, they're not stupid, and we don't want them to know, because then they will take credit and act on it. They'll get
but I also don't think we're stupid enough to roll over and just give away any information. I think this is just going to be a dinner, to be honest. They're not going to give us anything. We're not going to give them anything. It's just business being done.
We're friendly. We're all friends.
Exactly.
We're all
Exactly.
It's just who gets all the candy from the piñata when it breaks. Or who gets embarrassed if it breaks and there's nothing inside but dirt. All right.
Is there a way to acquisition a handgun before we go? Or is this something we have to get on tomorrow?
No, if you want one for this evening, then one of the consular agents will be able to drive a package to you. Basically, motorcycle courier will drop a package off with a number of guns if multiple people request.
That makes me feel a lot better. All right. Which makes me feel way bit better.
I would assume that a field agent would have kind of a standard issue.
Yeah, they'll have something. They say if you wanted to bring something along in the diplomatic bag, then it's something you could have brought with you. But if you are happy to just have something given to you here to avoid any questions if anything happened with the bag in transit, it's your call again.
I think that's what.
Yeah, I brought my own. Yeah, you don't want to use a borrowed gun.
Well, I thought about that too.
You can't trust it.
I thought about having like his own handgun, like everything else, whatever we'll take, but you have that personal sidearm that's like your trusted thing.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
But you also don't necessarily want a gun to be traced back to you if you lose it. So
there are many others like it, but this one is mine.
Yeah.
So if that's it, gentlemen, if we're going to just go downstairs and get ready for dinner, unless you have some more questions that you want to ask. I would like to say once again something to O'Sullivan as we're leaving the roof. I just want to say to you, Mr. O'Sullivan, that I am very sorry that your comrades were torn apart by these creatures. It must have been quite traumatic for you.
He's like, it's not funny. He's like, oh, it is. I got their names. I got them tatted, along with some other tats. Never forget them. But I'll never forgive those creatures. I understand to a degree what you're doing, but understand to a degree that I'm here to protect lives.
Absolutely. I say it's been my guess for some time that if these creatures were in fact hostile towards us land dwellers, they could have wiped us all out a long time ago. They're quite advanced, and they're quite numerous, and the oceans cover 75% of the planet Earth. We're the minorities in this case. So I think that what happened on that night was done by what you might consider criminals amongst them.
Maybe. I don't have many questions, but did you say they evolve or something?
It seems like there are some of them that are naturally born fishmen, and there are some that are born human and transition. They're hybrids.
That's crazy.
And we don't know what the extent of it is, or where there are other colonies around the world. I think I heard somewhere that in off the coast of Pohnpei in the South Pacific, that the Japanese were torpedoing some of their colonies at one point. So some of our governments are aware of their existence.
Hans was explaining the mix of them that night. Huh. All right. Well, and he's like, just like tying the tie. He's like, I got to think on this for a while, but I appreciate the kind words.
All right. So,
right. Is there anything else anyone wants to do before we cut towards dinner?
Dress up nice.
Dress up nice.
I always dress up nice.
I was going to do this. I was going to do this after a game, but maybe I'll do it in game. I'm going to kind of give Dr. Jacoby a side eye, and after our little meeting starts to break up, I'll ask him for the gold piece back. I don't know if you misunderstood my intent, but I was showing it to you. I wasn't giving it to you.
What are you going to do with it?
$300 and some odd dollars. I will find something to do with it.
I would not suggest you sell this on the open market.
Yeah.
We don't know what level of infiltration. This could very well be part of a cult.
All right. Well, maybe I'll give it to Section 46 then.
We are Section 46, but if you'd like to hold on to it.
Yes, thank you.
Most likely, when you picked it up, it put a curse on you, and you're going to slowly weather.
Whoever touches it is going to evolve into a deep one. I mean,
There you go.
really fast. Yeah.
Oh, we don't call them that. They really don't like that term at all. Ichthyandrians.
Right, fish people. Right. Let's go to dinner.
Right. We can skip then to the Pera Palace. It's an interesting building. It's from at least a couple of sides. It looks almost like a Lego brick. It's very tall and rectangular in shape. There's a nice garden at the back of it. It's just down the road from the British Consulate building as well, so you think it would be a place where SIS or anyone from the Consulate in general would use as their local watering hole, shall we say. The place in the evening is still pretty busy. Even though the Orient Express at this point isn't running, it's still a very popular hotel with tourists. It's a very opulent, very period piece. Everything's been preserved here. In fact, the room that Agatha Christie wrote Murder on the Orient Express is preserved as a museum in her honour there. So you arrive in the lobby of the hotel. So people hustling, bustling, they're going back and forth. So a few of them heading towards the restaurant, a few of them heading towards the bar. You are shown towards the concierge and presumably give the name of Donaldson as instructed by Lorimer.
Yes.
Yeah. And you are shown to a very large table, a table for 10, where there are yourselves and 3 other people sat there, one of which is Lorimer, who doesn't quite look as rough around the edges now. He does scrub up nicely when he decides to put on his best suit. There's another man with him, slightly older, who's wearing a 3-piece suit. Again, very not a thread out of place, although he has what's the equivalent of a resting bitch face. He continually looks angry, despite any tone in his voice suggesting otherwise. And a young lady about the same age as Lorimer. Again, she's dressed in a suit as well, got a white and black combination. All of them stand as you arrive. There's a round of shaking hands. Lorimer says the first introductions. So thank you everyone for coming along. So I hope this will be a nice evening to get to know each other. This is my superior, Mr. Donaldson, Bradley Donaldson, and my co-worker, Caroline Holbrook. So they nod and say there's shaking hands and so on and smiles. And says, yeah, please, let's everyone sit down and have a look at the menu.
Lovely.
Whiskey?
Yeah. Oh, Lorimer smiles. You're going straight to the page I normally do.
You should, Mr. O'Sullivan, try the Rocky. It's quite delicious. And strong.
I'm always game for new things. I'll take one of those as well.
Yeah, Lorimer definitely approves. He smiles.
I'll order something delicious.
I take it various people order. Is anyone not eating or not partaking of anything?
Oh yeah, food.
Is there like
well, I'm going to eat. I'll probably have wine with my meal, but I'm not going to drink strong spirits.
I mean, they invited us to dinner, right? Like they're hosting us, right?
Yeah, they are indeed. Yeah.
Okay, definitely.
Yeah, I'll have a nice vodka tonic with something top shelf and a nice steak or something.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Okay, in which case there's a round of orders that comes around. The waiter diligently takes orders and then heads off, leaving you at the table to discuss. So Donaldson is the first to perk up. So we got a rather last-minute heads up that our American cousins would be coming to town. Is there anything particular that brings you in? I wasn't aware of any major deals going down at the American Consulate.
Mainly sightseeing.
Interesting. You can see he's kind of processing that as to what that could be potentially inferring.
Bilingo. Yeah.
Is that code for something? Yeah.
Oh, fair enough. There are plenty of sights to see around here, after all. So.
Yeah.
How long have you guys been in the town?
I've been stationed here about 10 years myself. Lorimer here is only a fairly recent transfer. Holbrook has been with us for a little while. Excellent translator. If you need any help on the translation front, then by all means, we'll consider it as an offer to say to our esteemed American cousins that you can call upon Carolyn here.
Miss Holbrook, what languages do you speak?
Yeah. She smiles. Fluent in Arabic, Chinese, French, German, Greek, Italian, Spanish, Russian, and Turkish.
But no Gaelic. Nice.
A true polyglot.
She smiles somewhat shyly. Yeah.
She a good looking woman?
Yeah, she's fairly good looking. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So definitely above average anyway.
That's who Eamon pays attention to.
Yeah, she hasn't dressed up in such a way as to show off.
Sure.
She's dressed very practically and very businesslike.
That makes sense.
Although, if that is something that would catch your eye, you can give me a spot hidden roll.
All right. Soldier being a soldier. For sure, leave. Oh, holy! I rolled a 99.
I made mine.
I'm infatuated on a different level here tonight. Wow.
Yeah, you are oblivious then that there's not really much on show in the hotel tonight. Did I hear that Somerton passed though?
I did, yes.
Yeah, there is actually a stunningly good-looking lady up by the bar at the moment. She sat talking with another man, also actually fairly good-looking, who's got sort of slightly curly hair, the widest lapels on his jacket and his shirt and shirt collar that you've ever seen outside of a discotheque, and slightly frilly shirt as well. But they're talking quite intimately at the bar. You see champagne flutes being chinked between them. But even though she's quite an attractive, relatively young lady, you just catch a look in her eyes and something just seems a little off.
About her looks or her demeanor?
Just particularly her eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Just that something seems a little dead inside. She's got the look. She's got a look that you would equate almost like to a 1,000-yard stare. She's seen stuff, and while she's putting a good facade on it, there's something. Yeah, that mask isn't exactly very thick that she's wearing.
It's almost like I want to kind of draw the conclusion that she might be in the intelligence community, but maybe her partner isn't.
Maybe it's a bit hard to tell, especially this is across the other side of the room.
Right.
You can't really hear what they're talking across the hubbub of all the other tables as well, unless you've got a lip reading skill.
No.
Oh, there you go.
Can't have everything, can we? I've got dashing good looks and $1,000 suit, but do not have lip reading.
No, there is a spare chair. There is an empty chair next to her if you did want to take a wander over to the bar, but that would obviously mean getting up and leaving your colleagues and guests, or hosts rather.
I'll just, if I can catch Dr. Jacoby's eye, and then I'll kind of nod toward her specifically.
Okay. So I take the hint to mean that you want to go over and talk to that woman. So I am going to engage the party.
No, I wanted you to actually look at her Did you pass your spot hidden roll or no?
I looked over it. No, I didn't roll because I'm not interested. But
significant PC plan.
He is interested.
I got 33, which is not half. So, well, I see her, but I immediately assume that you want to go talk to her. So, maybe I misread what you said, but you see that I immediately engage the others so that if you want your opportunity to get up and go, you can go.
Okay, you said there were champagne flutes. Does it look like there might be possibly celebrating anything?
They certainly seem happy.
Okay. Well, I'll keep an eye. I can't really come up with a cold open right now, but I can approach later.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they seem to be they're going to be sat there for a while. There are various refills happening with their glasses. They don't look like they're about to get up and go anytime soon. Yeah, otherwise, at the table itself, Donaldson is quite happy to make idle chit-chat about, say, how long have you been working in consular activities? Seen any interesting places in the world that you've been to? I've seen a few places on the globe myself.
I went to Duluth once.
Not familiar with Duluth. Whereabouts is that?
No one's familiar with Duluth. I don't know where it is. I didn't actually. It was just the first thing that came to mind. It's somewhere in America, I believe. I don't know much about foreign countries.
Not sure they would have a consulate in Duluth.
Delaware, perhaps. Isn't that like an independent nation or something?
I don't know. I guess there's probably places that I've been.
I'll actually ask Miss Holbrook. I'll just kind of open with her with a little bit of German.
Okay. Yep, she replies in German. The accent's not particularly, doesn't sound native, but definitely her grasp of the language is strong.
Good.
Yeah, definitely enough to back up her claim that she says fluent. Yes. Yeah, it was actually. She says, "I was in Germany for a fair while just after university. So had a look around a few of the places: Stuttgart, Berlin. Let's see.
I was in Berlin for a while.
So I would have loved to have gone down the Unter den Linden, but obviously with it being on the other side of the Brandenburg Gate, it becomes a bit difficult these days.
Exactly. And I'm just going to engage her in small talk about Germany and Berlin or wherever else she's been. But basically Germany and those environments. Okay.
You pretty much get her attention for most of the rest of the dinner then. Unless anyone else wants to try and cut in. But yeah, she's very, very much happy talking to you about anywhere not here.
Any place that's not Turkey.
Yep.
So I feel now that I've completely misunderstood what Agent Somerton wanted me to do. So I'm thinking, it's going to take a while to where we learn how to read each other's expressions, but he must have wanted me to go over there and observe. So I say to everybody at the table, I say, "Excuse me, gentlemen, for just a few moments." And I get up and I walk over to the seat next to the two of them. Mm-hmm. It's at the bar, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I just go up there and I engage the bartender.
There you go. Perfect.
I say, "Do you know how to make the most complicated drink I can come up with?" I say, do you by chance have Sazerac Sazerac rye? Can you make a Sazerac? Do you know what that is?
The bartender pulls back a little bit. It's a drink I've heard of, sir, but unfortunately not one that I'm particularly well versed in. We don't have many requests for particularly exotic drinks like that.
Do you have creme de violette?
Yes, we do have that. Yeah.
Could you make me an aviation?
Oh, definitely, yes, certainly.
Right.
And any particular preference on the gin?
Boodles.
Oh. Yeah, he nods. Okay.
And so I'm sitting there, but I'm listening intently to the two next to me. I'm not looking at them in any way.
Okay. They're both speaking French.
Oh, shit.
Wah, wah.
However, what you can pick up, the male is a native French speaker.
Okay.
The woman isn't. She speaks with a speaks with a Turkish accent.
Okay. So I don't understand. I probably understand a word or two of what they say, but I don't have any context.
Mm-hmm.
So once I get my aviation, I then go back over and I sit back down again.
Mm-hmm.
And I look over at Somerton, and I'm like, I give him the.
So meanwhile, I will continue single-handedly engaging the rest.
Yeah, there seems to be
in conversation. Then
More hair-raising stories from Duluth.
yes, and then one time, I had call to go to Maine, where the people eat lobsters. Imagine that. Just imagine.
Holbrook smiles. Donaldson is just nodding, slightly wide-eyed, and going, "I'm rather a fan of lobster myself, actually."
The cockroaches of the sea.
He blinks and just
You know,
looks.
they're not orange until they're cooked. They're actually sort of blue.
Actually, it depends.
Extraordinary, isn't it? Extraordinary.
Now the biologist jumps in and he's like, that depends on the species.
Here we go.
Some of them are quite red.
Here we go. Lecture mode.
During the war.
There I was, in the jungle.
If you have a psychology score of 30 or more, you can quite easily determine this. You don't even need to roll for this. That they're sounding out and trying to do any kind of fishing activity is completely and utterly failing. Mainly because Postgate is just stonewalling them to the point where they are becoming so bored. All they want to do is eat and get the hell out of here.
I've been with the company for a very long time.
I take a drink of my
I've done
wine.
this before.
And I say, I'm from Chicago.
Oh, do you know South Dearborn Street? I'm told it has an unusually high concentration of garment warehouses.
I've been told that too, but now here's the real question. Have you ever been to Joylette? Because talk about a really fancy place. Just south of Chicago. Their main street's great. Lots of gift shops. I actually went into one the other day when I was in the States. And boy, they had a lot of postcards for Chicago. But it's just funny because they're south of Chicago. They're not actually Chicago.
I've never been there, but my friend Mr. Yao attended a rodeo there once.
Where's Mr. Yao from? Can you give me a detailed explanation as to his background and location?
I never asked. He's a very mysterious gentleman.
Oh, did you find him in an occult shop in New York?
No. He was a musician of my acquaintance.
Oh.
At this point,
do they start looking at their watches?
They go a step further.
All right.
Donaldson gives Lorimer a particular look and just nods very, very slightly. Lorimer then says, "If you excuse me a second, I'm just going to head to the restroom. I'll be back in a second." He heads out into the lobby, going past the restroom door. Those of you at a particular angle might notice he actually goes over to see the concierge and has quickly talks with him, and you can see a note or a couple of notes being handed over to him, or bills rather. And he sits back down. And about maybe 30 seconds to a minute later, the concierge comes to the table and comes up to Donaldson and says, "Sorry, sir, but your office called. It seems like there's a little bit of a problem that's happening over there. Your presence is requested.
What are the chances?
At which point he sighs, looks apologetic. I'm sorry, but as a business calls, Lorimer Holbrook, you're quite happy to come with me now.
Oh, I was going to talk about Evanston next. It's north of Chicago.
We'll definitely meet up again to complete our conversation here.
I do hope we will, because I really, really am looking forward to telling you about the time I spent 3 weeks in Colville in the state of Washington, which is near Spokane.
Oh, Spokane's a wonderful town.
Holbrook says, isn't that near Loughborough?
Don't forget to be picking up the tab.
Have you ever been to Leatherhead?
No, I haven't.
Oh, I'm told it's the very hub of Britain's BDSM community.
Tell me more about it. Give me
Please don't. No more. No.
Donaldson just reaches into his wallet. He doesn't even bother counting. He just drops a wad of Turkish lira on the table and says, I'm sure that will cover all of your expenses. If there's anything more, please, by all means, send me a bill. But I've really got to go. Really got to go.
I'll wish Miss Holbrook a good night in German.
Yeah, danke. And at which point the three of them leave. You see Lorimer is desperately trying to resist the urge to break out in laughter as he's walking away with them.
I think a celebratory cognac is in order.
It's like a cartoon where you see like a little dust trail as they leave the hotel so quickly. It's like, and like papers are curling up in the air and then falling down.
Yeah, tail firmly between their legs.
To be honest, I wasn't even born in Chicago. I just know a lot about Chicago and the area. I was actually born in Columbia, if you want to know anything about that.
People happy with a couple more minutes? I notice the time's just gone past 4.
Yeah, we can go a couple minutes if that's okay with everybody.
Right. Okay. In which case, your round of celebratory drinks arrives. And not too long after, you see the couple at the bar. The lady gets off, jumps off a stool, kisses the guy gently on the cheek, and then strokes his arm as she walks away. She heads out into the lobby and goes towards one of the elevators.
Did she walk past us at all?
Yeah, she does. She does actually look over towards your table as she walks out with a bit of a the edge of her mouth curls in a smile.
Boy.
Can I get Dr. Jacoby's attention and have him actually look at the woman this time?
Yeah, Jacoby, you can give me an intelligence roll.
All right. I look at her and I say, apparently,
I was like,
I'm dumb. I got a 93.
You're drunk.
No,
go home, Jacoby. You're drunk.
There's a lass right there. All right.
Yeah, nothing sparks. Again, it's not someone that you've noticed, but there's also something else that maybe you might twig later, but at the minute the penny hasn't dropped yet.
All right.
However, the man starts coming over towards your table.
Let him keep on walking, I guess. Let's see what happens.
He just
very big lapels.
Oh yes.
I wonder if it's a Tommy Nutter suit.
Right. He wanders over to the 3 chairs that have now been vacated by the by SIS, and in somewhat heavily accented English, he says, "May I sit down?"
Be our guest. Would you like a glass of cognac?
Oh, I certainly wouldn't say no. That would be lovely.
And what accent is it? Turkish?
French.
French. Okay. Oh, that's right. French. Yeah.
So, what brings you to Istanbul?
Myself, I'm actually a talent scout by profession, but I've got bit of a problem. It's actually something I was hoping that yourselves might be able to help me out. I heard myself and a friend were over at the bar, and I couldn't help but overhear some snippets of conversation. You work for the American Consulate?
That's correct.
Well, we're on business with the consulate.
Ah, okay. Well, I was hoping you might be able to help me with, say, an issue I've got. That I'm looking for someone, but all I have really is a description, and other than I know that they had previously been seen going into the American Consulate, apparently for, I assume, for business in your what is the word? Your organization or company?
Well, we've only arrived today. We're on a particular mission that's classified. But when did this happen? When did you see this person go into the consulate?
Oh, this is just what I've heard, is that he had been seen going into the consulate. This was actually last year, around the time of the festival that takes place here, the arts festival. But yes, it's. I don't have any contacts in the consulate. I was wondering if you might be willing to help for a small fee.
Well, you'll forgive my cynicism, but as my friend here says, we've only been in town for a day.
I'm not sure what we could do to help you.
We could do anything to look into this matter for you. We don't know anyone in the consulate by sight, other than the small number of people we've had to deal with on our business trip so far. And certainly no one who just went in there last year. I mean, even I doubt very much, even if we asked, whether they tell us anything. I mean, we're literally just trade delegates. We don't have any clearance for anything in there.
Is this a missing person you're looking for?
No, I don't believe he's missing. I just don't know who he is. I'm just trying to find out who he is.
Oh. Like I said, we don't know anybody.
Do you have a picture or a description of this?
Photo or something?
I can give you a description. Yes, I've made a drawing of the individual as well. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out whatever he looks to be a photograph of a fairly detailed sketch. It shows a man that's in his 50s, more than likely native Turk. That, again, not someone that you recognise as of yet. As you said, you've only been here a day, but no one that you saw at the American Consulate.
Well, look, why don't you jot your details down on the back of that photograph and leave it with us?
Yes, certainly.
And if we run into this chap, we'll let you know.
Sure. He nods. He puts his name.
I'm not sure if an American CIA agent would say chap. Probably not. This guy.
We're trying to blend and confuse.
He leaves his name on the back as Benjamin Faure. My pronunciation on French is probably awful. Faure. And he is currently staying at the Park Hotel. He says, if you ask for me at the front desk, then they will obviously be able to send a message to my room. But I'm very grateful for any assistance that you can give me in this matter.
Well, I mean, if we can help you, obviously, yes, of course, we'll do anything we can. Right. Is your friend missing, or? He's
not a friend of mine.
He's not a friend of yours.
Can we ask why you're looking for this person?
You can see he's kind of umming and ahhing. Does he want to say anything? You can give me a persuade roll to see if you can get anything more out of him.
32, and my persuade is 80. Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
So what I say to him is, I say, is he sleeping with your wife? Is that why you want to find him?
No, he smiles. I'm actually, I'm not married. I have a greater calling, unfortunately, so that precludes such matters.
I see.
No, myself and this individual had an altercation last year. He actually assaulted me outside at the outskirts of the festival, and I would like to find who this individual is, and basically begin legal proceedings against him.
Well, we don't want to be any part of like a revenge scheme that you might have against this individual. However, I guess we can assume we'll see what we can find.
He nods at that. That sounds reasonable. So I don't intend. Revenge isn't necessarily on my cards, but I think a balancing of accounts would be a better way to put it. But anyway, if you are able to provide me with any help, then that is much appreciated.
Well, we'll be sure to be in contact if we do. Yes.
Would it be acceptable to do a psychology roll on the man to see if what I'm looking for is his emotional attachment? Is he, from what he just said a moment ago, was it perhaps a romantic altercation?
Oh, okay. You can do a psychology roll there.
Okay. No, sorry. Got an 85 out of 50. That's no good.
As you are all there and listening to him or interacting with him, you can. Anyone else that wants to make the roll can.
I'd like to make a psychology roll, but specifically just to look at where his eyes are going when he's telling this tale of this assault.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's sectorized, isn't it?
Yeah.
To tell whether
psychology.
Yeah,
lying and making up a story or relating a memory.
Mm-hmm.
I did 31 out of 50 just to feel this guy up.
Okay.
Feel him out.
14
I was going to say, that's another way to find out.
Hey!
I am sitting next to him. I mean, well.
Really next to him.
Oh, for Eamon then, he's on the level. This doesn't seem to be anything deceitful that he's saying, but you catch, especially when he paused over the fact that he said he had a higher calling that he hadn't got, that precluded him from having a relationship. That's a deep nerve. It's something he takes very, very seriously. This is a man who has very strong beliefs, maybe religious, maybe political, but beliefs in some fashion.
My first thought was clergy of some sort. So,
yeah, very, very strong, like burning rage of 1,000 suns that he's keeping very well hidden, but not necessarily as yourself. And for Postgate, no, he is definitely recounting a memory. There's a good degree of anger behind that memory. He really did not like the fact that what led up to this assault. He is keeping details of that concealed, maybe as to how it started and so on. But he's not lying. This is an event that actually happened to him.
Okay.
But say he starts to get up from the table and says, as I said, if you can provide any assistance, I would be very, very grateful. So, otherwise, gentlemen, I will bon appetit.
I'll slip the photograph into my pocket.
Only because I'm curious. Who was that we last you were sitting at the bar with?
Oh, her. Yes, a very interesting lady I've been put in touch with, again, to help with my search. Why do you ask?
I just thought she was a bit of a looker. I'm just curious.
No, she Yeah, she is a lady of hidden talents.
Her look is very unique.
Yeah, his eyes open a little wider and says, "Yes,
Mm-hmm.
yes, I think that's unique is a good word to use."
Hi.
We'll do what we can.
Perfect. That's all I ask. And in return, if admittedly a man of my modest talents is able to help you in any way, like a quid pro quo, then by all means feel free to contact me.
Yes, if we need a model or an actor of some sort, we'll contact.
Actors and dancers are a speciality of mine.
I see. All right. Gentlemen, shall we call it an evening?
Sure. That's a nice place to break.
Yeah.
Oh, my character was saying that.
So that was both in and out of character.
On
right.
both fronts. Yeah.
We couldn't tell.
All right. Well, that's cool. That's a good spot. All right. Our players for this episode included Jeff Wilkins, Bill Mize, Lucas Glasshauer, Mick Swan, Thomas McKeon, and myself with Matthew Sanderson as the Keeper of the Secrets. We're currently producing 4 shows a week with music and sound effects added in post-production in order to create a richer listener experience. We provide audio-only versions of our shows free for you to download from Podbean or iTunes. If you'd like to become a patron, visit our Patreon account. Just $1 or $2 a month helps us a lot. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel for updates on our latest shows, and leave us some comments. We like reading them. This is Tom Rayleigh, together with all the members of our gaming club, inviting you to journey with us once again into the darkness for another adventure into the universe of H.P. Lovecraft and the Call of Cthulhu role-playing game. Until next time, good luck and good gaming.